website. Let me just show real quick. So our Economic Development Subcommittee website, Karen is working as we speak on updating it. But so it has everything we've been working on to date, as well as everything the state has for us. So our recovery plan, the business plan application we've discussed, the checklist that we've discussed, state resources and guidance for businesses. This is the new reopening mandatory safe standards for workplaces, which essentially matches our checklist, which I was pretty pleased with. We've been moving right along and maybe a few steps ahead. So that's great to see. And then the FAQs, which we'll discuss, as it's evolving, the state has been updating this list. And then the essential services, which again is a list of all the essential businesses or businesses really that are allowed to begin opening. So this is the rolling list here that is key for businesses to be aware of. This is, the content really. We'll be having the application link here shortly here. This is you guys. So we'll certainly update the committee as the governor expands his phased approach with more detail. I'm hoping in the next few days we'll be getting that. Hopefully a list of businesses that we can now start knocking on their doors saying, hey, there's an opportunity here for you. Let's get rolling. So that's the update there. Bruce, I see you're on behind Bill's face. I don't know if there's any updates from the Board of Health, or I know Trish's here and actually the whole gang's here. So any updates?
No updates as of yet. The board does meet tonight regarding the application that your committee has looked at for the pause and clause. Mark Poirier, myself, and Tim had gone to the site yesterday and did a site inspection, each of us looking at different things. I was more concerned with the safe transfer of the dog, social distancing, and the placement of the tables, make sure they had their sanitizer equipment and everything there. And everything is all in order as far as I would be concerned. Mark had addressed a couple of things that they needed to do for their security safety lighting. The batteries had worn out. They were in the process of replacing those. We looked at all the means of egress in the different locations, made sure that they had plenty of hot water and a place for people to wash their hands and such. So everything's in order on my end. I never really had an issue with that place before. It was Governor Baker's list that kind of caused them to close in the first place.
Hey, Bruce, real quick, just two things. How long were you guys there for as far as the site inspection?
Oh, geez, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes maybe?
Okay, so little time consuming.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we crawled over every inch of the place.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a spot mark a few times on a ladder, but other than that, I think it could be reduced some. It was the first one. We wanted to make sure we went down the checklist exactly right. So we did spend a little more time than probably we would.
Okay. All right.
Excellent.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. So Board of Health meets tonight. The next item is the Emergency Local Action Committee. We're still meeting daily. And one thing that, from the local perspective is discussing businesses to make sure as it's phased in, we're not leaving anyone behind. I see Sean Wade here who's a representative from Urban Air. I thought it might be useful to have him discuss with us just real quickly about, an indoor operation and how can that business, what are some thoughts that they're thinking about how they can adapt and thrive, because we certainly don't want to leave any business behind.
Well, thank you very much, Jim, for having me. First and foremost, we're fully aware that we're probably going to be one of the last businesses to open. Anyone who's driven by our parking lot on a Saturday or has been there, it's crazy. We're packed to the gills. There is no 6 feet social distancing. So some of the plans we've been discussing, obviously, we're going to have to install plexiglass shields at our front counter in our cafe. We've discussed removing some of our tables from the cafe so we can create more distance. From our parent company side, we've discussed things like having a television with a thermometer attached to it. It's this really cool system. So as everybody comes in, it kind of looks like the Predator. You get that thermal imaging, and it takes everybody's temperature as they come in, so we can kind of be more aware, as well as we'd have to use the no-touch thermometers to scan everybody as they come in the door. Unfortunately, it's going to change our business. What's really helped us versus other indoor playgrounds is that we've never really charged time. But in our new world, we're probably going to have to start kind of booking appointments. So things we've discussed is probably from like 10 to 12, you'd buy your 2-hour ticket. And then from 12 to 12:30, we might be closed so we can sanitize all the attractions, everything that's been touched, reopen 12:30, et cetera, throughout the day. The reality is, whether it's our tubes playground, climbing walls, people are, and especially children, are touching everything. So we're really, really looking into buying more hand sanitizing stations. So every time you enter an attraction, exit an attraction, we require our staff to have children sanitize before they go on it, sanitize when they come off of it, on top of all the cleaning. I know we are watching a Sky Zone in Tulsa that reopened last week. In our personal opinion, that's too early for what we provide. But we're watching them very closely. They haven't really had a whole lot of business yet. A lot of people are still scared to go into a place that houses that many people. But yeah, I mean, we've been discussing a lot of working with the town. Jim, we're going to be kind of leaning on you, Bruce, and Tim to really, and Mark especially, of what are going to be some of those best practices to open. Because as far as the businesses in town go, I really think we're going to have probably the hardest time reopening.
Yeah. Excellent, Sean. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that last part, because I think, when we started this committee, there was several different things we were looking at, but I think one thing that's kind of has risen to the top here is that we're getting a lot of inquiries from businesses about, they see all this guidance out there just floating about, but what is it for them specifically? And so I think this the website that we're building upon we're gonna try and gear it so it has the most up-to-date information, but also just kind of having a contact out there, so they can call myself or Tim or whomever, and we can give them some guidance, and if we don't know it, we can reach out and then get back to them about how best to proceed. Restaurants, for example, are one of the biggest things where they're eager to do more than what they're doing now, and we're it's I understand it's hard, but we're telling them we got to pump the brakes for a moment here, but we're looking at creative ideas for when you get the green light, and just like Sean mentioned, they're looking at creative ways to kind of adjust their business. So I think it's going to be important for this group and staff to really be mindful of ways we can assist directly to the businesses in terms of useful best practices and up-to-date information. Any questions for Sean?
Yeah, Sean, this is Dan Spencer. Just one thing I want to keep in mind, if you could, is if you are getting any kind of feedback from your parent corporation, or if you any results from the location down in Oklahoma, if they're coming up with ideas, if you could maybe shoot them in, so we can kind of put them in our bank of ideas as well.
Absolutely.
And just an idea that I don't see, like you said, probably anytime soon open it up to the general public, but you guys may be phased in as far as when you talk about having appointments, maybe doing parties or something like that. That's kind of be your sole business to start off with, smaller parties, smaller groupings, and then kind of expanding from there. But I appreciate the fact that you recognize the limitations you have here and aren't demanding that the town opens you up right now, because it's far from out of our hands at this point. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on that real quick. We at Urban Air, especially in town, Andy and Chad, the owners, we were heartbroken for our seniors here in town. they don't get a graduation, they don't get prom. We've started talking with the school committee to hopefully be able to help, because not only are these kids in our community, we employ a lot of these kids. So we really feel for them. So they had taken prom off the books, but we have started to talk with the town that maybe that might be the first thing we do when we open, is to be able to do a small party for these kids, to do a mock prom. Just between Uxbridge, Franklin, and Bellingham, we have about 50-ish seniors that we employ. So we're really hoping to do maybe a small party to start. So thank you, Dan.
That's great. I appreciate it.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, John. I appreciate
Thank
it. So the next item is the marketing message. So at the last meeting, the to-do assignment was to kind of frame just a general paragraph that can be distributed widely to businesses and restaurants to say, when the time is right, it's reach out and let's start discussing creative ways in which you can to open up. So I'm just going to share those blurbs there quickly. All right, so this was sent out in your emails. Definitely interested in any feedback you may have, either now or via email. Please feel free to shoot it over. But I'm hoping to get that feedback soon so that we can start gearing up to reach out to these individuals. I've been working with different departments to get up-to-date contact lists through the Selectman's office, through Inspectional Services, Town Clerk. So we have a pretty decent list at this point to at least start with, to reach out to potential businesses, but in my opinion, more importantly, the restaurants, kind of pivoting to gearing up for when restaurants can start to have limited capacity on site and getting ahead of the game. So quickly I'll just get into these paragraphs, read it real quick. So planning for business opening. The town of Bellingham is seeking eligible businesses to begin planning for a safe reopening. As the governor begins to reopen the state, we ask that you review the attached handout, which is that safe checklist that the inspection team goes over, and look at ways you can improve the operations to limit exposure to COVID-19. If you believe you fall under the expanded essential business list, so that list of businesses that are slowly becoming green lighted to open, contact the town to review your options. So, a lot of these businesses haven't been open for a while, but they're now getting greenlit. So, they're looking at safe operations. We're also interested in how they're going to do it safely. And also, if they're opening up and, like Sean said, their business model might be adjusted slightly, let's talk about it. Maybe there's something we can do to assist in terms of regulations, getting creative, maybe sharing information that we've seen elsewhere. So I think this first one is more of, those unique local businesses that are gearing up or have just been greenlit and have some opportunities there. So that one can be, I think, widely dispersed, and we can field any kind of inquiry that may come in. So one thing to be mindful of, so that COVID-19 business at bellinghamma.org, that's going to go to all of us. So that's the committee and myself and the rest of the staff. Just like all the boards I staff, it's good for the committee to see those inquiries. Don't worry about responding to them. I'll take care of that. If you see something though that you want to contribute to, I would recommend submitting to me first, just so we're not doing anything out of the public realm with a quorum. The second item again is so the business opening, that's slowly unrolling with the state. So there are some creative ways we can assist businesses, but the restaurants, I think we still want to try and stay ahead of the curve. And what I mean by that is what we've seen in all the different states so far is limited capacity inside seating. And I think an opportunity here is to work with all the different local businesses and see if there's ways we can safely open up and expand outdoor seating. This creates an opportunity for the restaurants to get some expanded capacity that they otherwise wouldn't have, and maybe recoup some of that revenue that they sorely need. So in investigating this further, working with, I chatted with Dan some, chatting with Hillary. Dan and Hillary are reaching out to the ABC. There is a little bit of a process as of right now. So I think it's really critical to get ahead of the curve. So if they're interested in adjusting their seating outdoors and they have a liquor license, that involves a public hearing as of right now with the Board of Selectmen. So that's a lengthy process. So we want to get it out sooner rather than later. So I have that list of restaurants, and I seek, if the committee's good with it, I'm seeking to send out something similar to this paragraph you see here to all of them, or call them depending on what contact we have, to see if there's any opportunities there. I think there's a number of good opportunities throughout town. I don't know if anybody has any guidance, input, suggestions on those.
Hey, Jim, do these restaurants have to have pre-existing outdoor space, like a PJ's, or I know we're looking for them to be creative in what that looks like, but does the footprint have to already exist?
Not necessarily. No, that's obviously going to be the easier one. For example, yesterday after we did the evaluation of Paws and Claws, we went down to Coachman because they also have outdoor seating and looking to expand. So we walked the site there. Obviously, that's an easy one because they have an abundance of outdoor space. They actually did a fantastic job of laying out the tables for what they would propose. Significantly spread out. I want to say a minimum of 10 feet near each other. So we asked for a floor plan to get more information on that. But there are, I think, other opportunities for restaurants that don't necessarily have outdoor seating, but have an abundance of, side yard or backyard or parking area to, get creative, potted plants, roped off, etc., depending on, their circumstance.
Because I was thinking of the smaller venues like, the Devlins or Rock and Coal that have decent sized parking lots, but not, anywhere near the, how beautiful Coachman's is. But just wondering if they too have an option to get into this game.
They certainly do. And actually, while we're at Paws and Claws, the owner of the plaza happened to be in the area. So I stopped and chatted with him quickly and asked about specifically Devlin's, which is really the only restaurant in that plaza, and said, hopefully you wouldn't give them a hard time if they look to do some outdoor seating, whether it be in the front sidewalk area or in the parking. And he absolutely was on board with it. Obviously he wants to support his tenants. So hopefully we can get the same buy-in from all the different plaza owners.
Excellent. Okay.
Any other questions? Oh, Bill, you're muted. Hold on. Let me get you. Gotcha.
I think we need to look at all the restaurants in town globally. Discuss specific ones. I don't want people to think that, we're trying to favor a business over another business. I think we need to be careful of that. I was just thinking out loud, and I'm going to contradict what I just said. You look at someone like Pete's Bluebird, limited capacity inside, huge parking lot outside. That would be a good opportunity for them. There can be some restaurants that, cannot expand. I have reservations potentially about Rock and Coal. Just have to cross into the parking lot to get to Rock and Coal. So that may be some issues we have to address. But I think we look at it globally as best we can.
I don't want to do it today, but
Jim, can you mute Sue, please?
Oh, sorry. I thought she started talking. Yeah, no, Bill, I do agree. And I think that's why that inspection team is critical. So places that would have to, say, cross an area that typically would be, for vehicles, Mark would be there. Mark Poirier from Fire would be there. Building inspector would be there. Board of Health would be there. So I think we got a good crew that can assist on this. And I think you're right. So some of the local businesses throughout town have a good opportunity if we can get the word out to them.
yeah, Jim, and to Bill, to your point, there is, like Jim was talking about, the process as far as expanding liquor license to an expansion of premises. So right now we're looking at a 10-day notice for a public hearing. for the Board of Selectmen to grant the expansion of premises license, and then that gets submitted to the ABCC. So you're looking at another probably, 5 business days. So you're looking at almost 3 weeks when it comes to, once they get the go ahead. So that's why we do want to start reaching out to the restaurants now. And
I totally agree.
Because even if, and tell them, make sure we let them know, even if you don't plan on doing the expansion of business, apply for it now, because if you change your mind, you're going to be that much more ahead of the curve. And also make sure that these restaurants, like, Jim, you talked to the plaza owner, they're going to have to make sure that they get the okay from the plaza owner if they're in the plaza as well. And like I said, so at this, we want to kind of push them along to be proactive, so the lag time is going to be a lot less once they
I totally agree.
So yeah, I think getting those notices out, Jim, I think, we might be a day late already, so.
Has any other
Probably not.
has any other restaurants or stores or anything reached out to us? Any other businesses?
Not directly to the committee, no. There's been a number of restaurants asking, thinking that the 18th is the green light, and and the green light meaning, we're open for business, and I've been informing them that that's not the case. Even if there is limited capacity in the near term, we haven't got that guidance yet that the 18th is definitively that date. So not specifically about creative ways, but again, I don't think a lot of people think that they have that opportunity. I just got off a meeting with the regional planning group, so all the different towns in the area, and they're basically just crossing their fingers, hoping that the state's going to give them some good guidance, and these businesses are going to survive. So I think we're taking the right approach to try and be proactive as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's what I have for today. So I'll start gearing up, working with our team to start spreading the word. Again, if you have any contacts, at the town side, typically we have formal contacts of who to reach out to. But if you guys have any good contacts that I can get to the right person right away, the quicker the better. So please spread the word, and I'll try it as well. Sorry, Bill.
That's fine. I interrupted you.
No problem.
The checklist, has that been approved?
Right, yes. Yeah, the checklist, and luckily it matches much of what the state, except for it looks like we're a little more aggressive in some areas.
If you go on to what the governor announced yesterday, he has some nice charts. Have you seen those?
Yes, yeah, I've seen those. Those are good.
Is there any way we can do something similar to make it easier for our businesses to understand? And by the way, they've copied what we're doing. Red light, yellow light, green light. They added blue and light green. They almost
Absolutely,
copied.
I could work on that.
You should be pleased at what they've done, Jim.
They've been doing that all along.
They got inside your head.
We've been the trendsetters, and they've been following behind us.
But if you can look at those 3 graphs that they threw, 3 charts.
Yep, not a problem.
That for Bellingham, I think that'd be great. Also, last time I mentioned putting a notice on the, lack of a better word, the bulletin boards that we have in town, announcing that we're looking for businesses to apply to open. I think as time goes on, and maybe quicker than that, we don't want people to become complacent. And I think we need to have those signs, or those bulletin boards, remind people about washing their hands, wearing their mask, and social distancing.
I think it makes sense for us to figure out how we want to communicate this. I mean, it's one thing to, reach out to the businesses, but, how are we just going to do that by email? Can we put something that goes out similar to like what we do for the Board of Health for the updates each day?
Is there anything going on cable?
What?
Anything going on cable?
Right, I was going to bring that up, Jim. I would like to interview you tomorrow on the 10 o'clock show if you're available.
Sure.
Just to kind of talk about the process and, you know, for the 20 people that watch, but you know, I do think the audience is growing a little bit.
Except for the Tuesday and Thursday show, those ratings were way down. That's why we cut them.
Well, the good news is instead of firing me, you just reallocated me to a new day, so I appreciate that.
So,
Yeah,
Jim-
no problem.
Picking up on
So
the cable aspect, Cindy, we could just, on the screens that rotate on
Yes,
channel 11, have a couple of screens there.
absolutely. I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
we could tackle that. So
I don't know
cable,
how many people
email
watch it when
blast.
it's not on.
Email blast that goes out to all the residents that sign up for it. I think that's another great way.
Yep,
Sue,
email.
you through the BBA.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Is there a reverse phone call that we can do to businesses?
Dennis, can we target businesses or is it just geographically, right?
Yeah, just geographically, we'd be able to target businesses. As far as I know anyway, I can ask the question, but typically it's just mapping out the area that we want to send the call to.
Okay.
So Jim, go ahead.
I'm wondering if us as the Board of Health, we must have emails to all the businesses for permit questions or payments and et cetera. So is there a way that we can email them? I know Laura's on here. Bruce?
Yeah, I know. I've reached out to Laura and Michelle about generating a list of contacts based off of all of our permits. So I think they are working on that. So hopefully I got a pretty robust list from that.
Okay.
Okay, Jim, the 2 paragraphs that you have to send out to businesses,
Yep.
does it have to go out on letterhead or anything like that? We can just send it?
Yeah, absolutely. You could send it however you think would be best to get the word out. I think that's key. It doesn't have to be formal.
Okay, and can you send again the checklist
Absolutely.
so that we can attach both?
Yep.
And Jim, once we get those 3 together, can they be put in a format where they can be picked up at town hall? Trifold or something?
Yeah, we could, except for town hall's not open right now. But
When town hall opens?
yeah, we could look at that. All right. Anything else, guys? All right. Hearing none. It sounds like I got my to-do list. I'll start spreading out, sending out what we've been asking and adding to the cable, email blast, all that good stuff. Hopefully by next Tuesday, all that stuff will be done. Cindy, I'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, guys.
Well, I'll be
Motion to
watching.
adjourn?
There we go.
All right, I second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Opposed, 0. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy your day.
9 o'clock.